Real quick, I want to do a fair use. Yeah, Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai. I want to give all praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To you sisters, you Achwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Aram Yehowadah with the lesson.
See Erica and her strength and her courage. I'm reminded of a famous expression. The storm whispers to the warrior that you cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm. Erica is the storm. We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion. Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens, to Rome, to Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic. Because our children are strong, and our grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children's children will be strong. And what will you leave behind? Nothing. Nothing. To our enemies, you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness. We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination, we have vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now. generation by generation. And we will defend this world. We will defend goodness. We will defend light. We will defend virtue. You cannot terrify us. You cannot frighten us. You cannot threaten us. Because we are on the side of goodness. We are on the side of God.
Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 59 and 1, right? Because this devil's had a lot to say, right? Which everything he said proved that they're the Edomites. But he was talking about you are the storm, right? Which this was came to my mind, says, behold, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai hand is not shortened that it cannot save. So basically, the Lord is coming back to save his people through his son, through who the world ignorantly calls JC, right? It's coming back to save his people. See, and basically this is like a open threat, right? With cold words showing that that they're raising up the sons of Greece, right? Because that's what the Lord said to do, right? These are just all cold words for the race wars, right? Right? Because they're raising up the sons of Greece against the sons of Zion, right? As it said in the scriptures. So this is like their rallying war cry, right? Said neither his ears heavy that he cannot hear, right? And he's going to hear the cries of the elect, man, right? Yeah, so this is Numbers chapter 11, verse 23. It says, and Yahweh said unto Moses, is Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai's hand wax short? So did all of a sudden the Lord's hand all of a sudden become short out of nowhere, right? Thou shalt see now weather, right? So you're the storm, and what happens in a storm? It brings forth a weather, right? So, but the Lord says you're going to know whether my word shall come to pass unto thee or not, right? And you're going to see that the Lord's words are faithful and true. He is coming to save his people. His arms are not too short to save his people, man. Right? Yeah, this is 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 18. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, and that ultimately that's what this Edomite is doing, man. He's speaking great swelling words, and it's all vanity, man. Speaking spewing out lies, right? Saying you built all this. Yeah, you rebuilt the old civilizations that you said you will rebuild, right? And the Lord said you will rebuild, but he will throw down, right? Because you know your world is coming to an end abruptly, man. Right? They allure through the lusts of the flesh, right? Because everything about you is carnal, man. Right? That's why you're talking all this carnal stuff, trying to throw in these words of God and angels, but you don't know the name of the Lord. You're not saying you're not saying Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai. Matter of fact, you're not even saying those false names, which will be closer to the truth than your BS. You didn't say Yahweh or Yahuwah, right? And what is that? The other one that says Yeshua, right? Which are false, but that's closer than your BS, man. All you just kept saying is God and God and God and God and angels and God, which means nothing, right? Right? Just a bunch of hot air. Through much wantonness, right? Undisciplined, right? And we could tell by your psyops, man. You people, you are undisciplined and pulling off your psyops, because this thing got more holes in it than Swiss cheese, and people are starting to pull this whole thing apart and realize that the culprit and all sorts of things that's behind this, man. Right? You know, but we know you know you're the devil, the false accuser. So if you gotta come up with a false narrative to come against ultimately the elect, right, of Yasha Allah, that those are things that's what you're gonna do. Those that were cleansed escape from the lives of them in error, right, which is the elect, man. You're gonna come after the elect, but the elect has been cleansed by the blood of Yahweh Shai, man, through the washing of the water by the word, man. The remembrance stirred up the pure remembrance, realizing we are the sons and daughters of Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rachaha Chodash. Right? Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 15, verse 28. The heart, La'ab, which is your mind, of the righteous studieth to answer. So, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to study to show ourselves approved. And it also says study that you give an answer for the hope, right, of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? And it says but the mouth of the wicked poureth out evil things, right? And that's ultimately what they're doing. They're basically declaring war, and evil meaning what? A bad time. So they're doing their left-handed prophesying of evil, of war, of a bad time. Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld, right, which means to look, another beast, Salakia, coming up out of earth, right? Dealing with the beast systems, right? You had the four beast empires. This is the fourth beast empire with the deadly wound that was healed and returned, which is the red dragon, the Roman Greco Empire, right? And he had two horns like a lamb, right? Bringing you, so to transform into an angel of light, bringing you JC, speaking soft and effeminate and saying so much love. There's so much love, and he loves, and you should love your enemy. Meanwhile, he's basically he's going through earth without any mercy, right? Great rob and pillaging, right? Until you love your enemies, right? You know what I mean? Giving you a plantation Christianity throughout the entire planet, like a lamb, right? Transform into an angel of light. And he speak as a dragon. That's what they're about to do, bringing forth this draconian laws, measures, right, without mercy, right, and feeding it to you as this is the next best thing since sliced bread, right? No, we need this because the thing, because everything is this, and we need. This is the only way we could bring forth freedom and democracy, and this is the only way we can assure our way of life, and we're gonna make a lot of money, Hands over fist. But meanwhile, you're going to give all the jobs to AI, and you know, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna pierce people through with the MARK micro C hip, right? The Carrox Grapho, right? Yeah. So this is Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore, rejoice ye heavens, right? Because they're in their rulership, you know. So meanwhile, in between time, right? Between the time you started ruling and to the time of the very end, when you're getting taken out of your rulership, which that's what's happening now, and that's truly the big hubbub of what's really actually going on. This is why such the fire and the fury within the Edomite kingdom, right? Even though a lot of them are brainwashed, because that's why Trump said he loves uneducated Edomites, man, right? Because you know the simple believeth every word, you know. Even though that thing with KC is being picked apart, and they're showing you that Amalek, the small hats, are behind pretty much every assassination of a figure in this place called America, right? Which is also known as Babylon, Assyria, Nineveh, Sodom, right? This place that ought to be destroyed, this place of confusion, the daughter of Babylon, right? This place right here that ought to be destroyed, it's been the small hats, right? And it says, but they're in their rulership at the end of the day, right? Even though the 1% doesn't really share the wealth, you're in your heaven, right? You can use your white privilege, right? Even though you don't have money, white privileges get you far, man, in life, right? You know, so you're in your heaven, and ye that dwell in them, right? You dwell in these places of Babylon, these places of Esau, of Basra, Uz, right? The land of Uz, right? And then one brother brought that out. It's crazy how this it was, you know, the Esau was the land of Uz, and then the U.S. the Uz was UZ, and then the U.S. is basically U.S. Right? Crazy. It says inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, which is the people, for the devil, right, the false accuser, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time. So he's about to get taken out of rulership. Yeah, so this is Psalms 18, verse 4. The sorrows of death compass me, and the floods of ungodly men made me afraid, right? Saying what we're going to come into is a very frightful time, a scary time, right? It's not like you're not going to go through this thing and not be afraid, right? Because it even tell you that in the Apocrypha, men shall be afraid, right? It's a time like none other. So you're definitely going to be afraid, right? You know, because Esau is coming down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time, and basically, you know, they're coming in with that flood, that those stormtroopers, right? You know, the military men coming in like a flood, right? And it says, yeah, of ungodly men made me afraid. The sorrows of hell, right? Hell meaning the grave, and hell is also a condition, right? When you're when you're about to be tossed out, right, into the streets, right? And basically that's what the Lord said. It's time for you to be a pilgrim. You gotta we gotta get back to our nomadic state, right? When we were in the wilderness for 40 years, you know, we gotta get back to that nomadic state, you know, so to speak. All right. Hell compassed me about, right? Destruction, deaths, you know, many people are going to be dying from different diseases and killed and eaten by wild beasts. And hey, you're going to be afraid, but the whole thing is to trust in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, though all these calamities is going on about you, really right in front of you. People are dropping dead. What it says, 10,000 on my right hand, right? 1,000 on my left, right? That's you seeing the overwhelming scourge of the Most High is about to bring to the world, right? And it's no longer going to be for an amendment. It's just going to be the scourge. It's just going to be the purge and the scourge, right? About the snares, right? Because they're going to take some jakes at the concentration camps and things like that. These things are set up. Even they even put what is it called? Addictive chemicals in food. So that way when you go a long time or you even go a little bit without food, people are so addicted to food because food is a drug at this point. That's why they call it the Drug and Food Administration, because they add, there's drugs in it now. It makes you addicted. And you go a couple of days without eating, you're gonna go through some things. You're gonna be like Pookie, New Jack City. You're gonna go through some, you know what I'm saying, some cold sweats and just over food, right? Not to mention the array of many other different ways that you could die. But it's always keeping faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. The snares of death prevent me. Yeah, see, trying to prevent you to go that way, trying to prevent you to go this way, trying to prevent you to do this, trying to get to your senses of, you know what? If I just get the Karagma, I'll be all right. Give me all this I have to. All this to be done with, right? These are the things that they're trying to do. They're trying to break you down, or just kill you. Just in overall the desires of the devil, right? Because basically, what is it going to bring? In my distress, it's going to definitely bring distress in this time. I called upon Yahweh, right? And that's ultimately what the true men are going to do, right? In faith, right? In fear and in faith, and more fear of Yahweh than the sword. And I had ran across that scripture. It says something like that. I can't remember exactly where it's at, but it says, "I fear the Lord more than the sword." Right? You have to fear Yahweh more than you fear dying, basically, so to speak. Right? That was a beautiful scripture, and I've been meditating on that lately. To fear the Most High more than I fear dying. Fear the Most High more than I feel getting shot by a gun or some type of wild beast kills me, or drowning or caught on fire or however the Lord takes you out, right? Guillotine, right? Takes you to contra trap, guillotine, because you don't get the Karagma. Hey, fear Yahweh, right? And it says, called upon Yahweh and cried unto my power. He heard my voice out of his temple, in which the temple is your body, right? And the Lord said that the kingdom of heaven is within you, and that's dealing with ultimately is dealing with the elect. And my cries came before him, even unto his ears. So that's one thing that the calculation that Trump and the small hats and these elites, the Bilderbergs, the DuPonts, the Gettys, the Abraham, they're not weighing in that factor, right? Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 59, verse 19. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash, from the west, right? Dealing with 1 West 125th Street, the small sanctuary, started there, down to the apostles, west here in Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, right? Fearing it over here, where the bulk of the Israelites are here in captivity, right? And his glory from the rising of the sun, which is east, where our homeland is at, where, well, of course, the Israelites are scattered all over the world, right? But yeah, that's where they're gonna have that Armageddon, Armageddon, World War III is gonna be in eastward and in the garden, right, where our homeland is at. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, right, and then right here it says adversary, which lets you know same thing. It's enemy, which is adversary, which goes back to the word Satan. Satan means adversary or enemy, right? Which that's the self-proclaimed so-called white man, which is Satan. And it says, came in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakha HaKodash, shall lift up a standard against him. And then it says right here, it says, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai will lift up a banner, which is the Bible, ultimately, right? The volume of the book, which that's who's coming, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is going to be that standard that's going to be lifted up against him. Also, the fear and the reverence of the elect, which is going to activate that the gift, so to speak, within them, that heavenly gift. It's going to allow them to achieve spiritual powers. I'm going here to this transliteration or transliterate, right? Show you the power, right? Because when you go into that spirit, right? Let's go to spirit first. Rakah, right? Spirit, Rakah, wind, breath, right? Which is knowledge, right? Mind, right? Which is your mind, your spirit, the breath, the wind, right? Vain, empty thing, spirit, breaths quickly in, administrate, or I don't know.
Agitation.
Agitation, yeah. Because the Lord's going to cause us to agitate the enemy, right? Because we have courage, temperance, anger, right? The Lord's going to it's going to be a different spirit upon us. Lord willing that I'm part of that number. No troubling, bitter, yeah. Because we're in this place, America. America calls which is another name for America is bitter. And what it says, what does the scripture say? It says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, man. That bitterness, it makes you mad. You're wise enough to be mad, to be upset. Right here, this is what I was looking for. Right here, imparting war-like energy. See, and that's showing you, hey, this is not gonna be what you thought. I'm just gonna run up on them. Yeah, I got all the weapons, and I got this, and that. I got these laser guns, and I got all this technology, this hidden technology that I haven't showed the world yet. I'm going to bring it out on that day, and I'm just going to open up, and everything is going to go my way. Well, that's until the Lord lifts up a standard and put forth the spirit, right? A different spirit, imparting war-like energy. Right? And executive and administrative power, right? Because we're judges. The Lord's going to set up the kings and the judges, man, upon the earth, right? Governors, so to speak, right? Yeah, let me come back out here. Let's go up to the word standard real quick.
Strong's H 5127. Noose.
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 Noose. Noose. Noose. It says to flee, to escape, to flee, to escape. See, the Lord's going to be able to. Well, the Lord already said for us to be as pilgrims. That's the first part of escaping. That's one part of the standard being lifted up. The part disappear. See, the Lord's going to cause us to be able to have spiritual power to be able to disappear, to flight, to the attack. Right. So, hey, some people may be able to fly. Brothers may be able to fly and attack you. Right. Right. To take flight. Right. To fly. Yeah. Some brothers may be able, man, to put to flight. Right. Yeah. Run you down. Run you away. To drive hastily. Yeah. See. And drive you Edomites away. Right. You know, and to cause to disappear. Hide, right? Seeing some brothers are going to be able to cloak themselves and hide, you know? Yeah, so this is Psalms 93, verse 3. The floods have lifted up, O Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash. The floods have lifted up their voice, right? And a flood, you know, regular water don't have a voice, right? They're not lifting up a voice, right? So it's speaking of what? These troops, right? And basically that's what this guy is doing. He's basically making his war cry, right? He's basically calling them out. He's dog whistling, right? A war cry, right? Saying that they're ready to come with their race war, which these Edomites have been saying this for quite some time. The Dylan Ruth that went into the so-called Negro black church and shot those so-called Christians up, right? He said it. He did it in the name of starting a race war, right? So this is things that they've been in. So now here he is on the public stage and supposed to be some type of an official, right? He's supposed to be some type of I don't know if he's a congressman or mayor or some type of delegate or whatever. But here he is on the public stage, dog whistling for war, right? So that's that voice. Lifted up their voice. The floods lifted up their waves, right? It's basically their weapon, their people, right? Right? Lifting up the wave, the people, right? You ever see that, when they used to do that at the baseball games or even the basketball games or whatever, they do like the wave, and then basically the person has to stand up, and then they sit down, and it makes like a wave of people. But you need people to stand up, so to speak, to make this wave, right? To bring in an onslaught of warfare, right? But it says Yahweh on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, right? Yea, than the mighty waves of the sea. Sea meaning what? People. When you go back into, was it in Revelation, sea meaning people, right? I think it's 17. Yeah, Revelation 17. Sea meaning the people, right? Yeah, so this is Psalms 32 and 6. For this shall everyone that is godly pray, right? Because that's how, man, we're going to be doing a whole lot of prayer, man. We're going to be some serious prayer, bro. Unto thee in a time when thou mayest be found, right? See, hey, man, it's going to be, we're going to need Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and Lord willing, he may be found, right? Really of the elect. Not really, no one else is going to find them but the elect. So Lord willing, we're of that number, right? You brothers, you sisters that's out there, you're of that household of faith, right? The household of mourning, right? And it says, may it be found surely in the floods, right, of great waters, right? Because that's the time that's coming, man. Great troubles, man. Floods of waters, military, and also just troubles, man. All sorts of diseases and mosquito drones and man, wild beasts, right? Dogs to tear, right? The fowls of the air to pick you to pieces, right? You got all sorts of things. Calamity on top of calamity. But hey, look, when you got that fear of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and ultimately, if you're of that number, that elect, man, your prayers are gonna come into the ears of the Lord of hosts, right? Of armies, of Sabaoth, which means armies, right? He's gonna defend you, right? Have angels encamp around them that fear Yahweh, right? Because surely in floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him, right? Who? Him that what? Fear the Lord. Him that is protected of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakal Kadash, right? Because thou art my hiding what? Place, right? And this is what Esau's not taking accountability while he's speaking all these great swelling words, this puffed up words. He's not taking in account that the Lord is going to lift up a standard and defend his men, right? And in some cases, he may even defend the 2/3, some of the 2/3, right? Because the Lord said he does preserve the wicked for the day of destruction. So some of them, the Lord may do things just to preserve them in order to, just so that guy could be there to face the missiles. So the Lord's spirit can be in that missile, and that guy can understand, right? And truly see his life flash before his eyes, why his skin is melting while he stand upon his feet. And why that's happening, he's going through not just this lifetime, but his other life periods, and show how wicked and wicked and wicked and wicked. And this is why he's facing the highly fueled temperature ICBM intercontinental super
supersonic continental ballistic missiles, man. Right? Right? You know? You don't know the mind of Yahweh Basham Al-Bashai, man. Just to get those who he said, I will come and get you to the second and third and the fourth generation of them that hate me, man. And that's ultimately he's speaking to Jake. But hey, that's to all you nations also, right? So how much more if the Lord will do that for 2/3 just so he can eat a missile, how much more will the Lord do to someone he don't even love, right? Amen. It says, shall preserve me, right? Who the elect, Lord willing. You know, I want to be part of that number, Lord willing, because I don't want to eat a missile. I don't want to be eaten by wild beasts, or you know what I mean, a disease or a microwave gun, right? I mean, I guess if you got to get your head chopped off for you know, for the truth's sake, you know, then I mean, so be it. But the rest of that stuff, and I'm not too fond of that, right? You know, from trouble, right? And when we're in the time of Jacob's trouble, ultimately, right? Which Jacob's trouble is going to be everybody's trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with singing of deliverance, salah, right? Which means like a pause within in the song, right? And then, you know, when the song comes, when the beat comes in, it gives that intensity, right? It gets intense, right? Like when you deal with a song, you ever see rap, and then the beat comes back in. Oh, that sends the energy higher, and that's kind of what the Lord is gonna do, man. He's gonna say, then should they know who am I chosen? It's gonna put everything on a pause for a quick second. They're gonna go, oh yeah. The tune is gonna. You ever see that in the movie? It's like that, dun 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 dun, like that dreadful sound because the enemy is coming in, and then the sound changes because the good guy like gets his strength, or he gets, you know, and now it's like the Superman go boom 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 dun 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 dun. I'm not doing it right, but you know, like the Superman sound when he gets that, and it changes the whole. Hey, it's gonna be like a pause, man. You're gonna see the world be like, yeah, man. When you do not put your hands on the Lord's anointed, right? Yeah. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 12. And the Horams also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them before them and dwelt in their stead, right? So basically Esau came and took over, you know, and that's Esau's MO, which he did that throughout all the world, you know, once he had his opportunity, right? But, you know, all victories come of the Most High, you know, and the Most High wanted him to have that so he could have the ability to change that place, being Petra, Mount Seir, and to carve those you know, those pillars and things into the caves, so that you could see that all throughout the world. Whether you go to Spain, you go to France, you go to Italy, you go to, you know, anywhere in the world, you know, Colombia, Mexico, America. No matter where you go, you can see the pride of the Edomite, man, going back to Mount Seir, basically showing you that they're that Greco-Roman Empire, right? You know, so it's all for a reason. It was all for a purpose, right? You know, Same thing they did with the coins. You know, they put the eagle on the coin. They put the Edomite facing a certain way on the coin. Then they turned around in the Greco Empire, they did it. Then the Roman Empire, they did it. And then, of course, here in America and all these other places where the Edomites are at, they're pretty much the exact same thing, right? So, you know, that was all for a purpose, you know? So it dwelt in their stead as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which Yahweh gave unto them, right? Which, you know, Israel conquered, took the land that was meant to be given to them as well, right? As far as what the Most High said was meant to be ours, right? And, you know, it's going to happen again. But this time it's going to be within righteousness, man, right? Unlike, you know, these people, they'll take the thing and then rule, and they'll rule in wickedness. They'll overtax the people. They'll defraud the weight of the money. Right? They defraud the weight of the money and all sorts of things. See, we're not going to do that. Right? This is Obadiah chapter 1. I'm just going to read just the part right here. In verse 1, it says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the outer one, power, the Most High Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, concerning Edom, right? So this right here is concerning Edom, right? I'm just going to skip down to verse 3. It says the pride, right? See, that great swelling words, all them things that they're speaking about is really ultimately because of pride, right? And then the Lord said that your pride will deceive you, man. And that's ultimately what you're not counting in, that the Most High is going to lift up a standard, right? And that the Lord is going to hear the cries of the elect, man, right? He may not hear the cries of the 2/3, but he will hear the cries of the elect for sure, for certain, you know, right? So, you know, you have that pride, the pride of his heart, la'ab, your mind, you know, your mind is swimming with thoughts of you know, thinking you're God, for one, you know what I mean? You know, you don't need the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai, right? You could blaspheme the name, you could blaspheme the Son, the Father. Basically, you blaspheme the Holy Spirit, bro. That's why you can't be forgiven, you know? And everybody's crying for you, which don't make no sense, you know? Right? Yeah, right there. The Lord said, have deceived thee, right? Yeah, the pride of your heart have deceived thee. Thou that dwelleth in the cliffs of the rocks, going back into you being in Mount Seir, and then later on into the Caucasus, right? Where you came out of the Caucasus Mountains, being Caucasian, meaning cave dweller, right? Right? You know, you took that off from the internet, but it used to be there, right? We all know that. And Caucasian means cave dweller, right? I mean, same thing as Mount Seir, you know? You know, Petra, right? You're just a cave dweller, you know, all in all. You know, it's all good. You know what I'm saying? We know who you are, the cliffs of the rocks, whose habitation is high, and you build these big skyscrapers, buildings, you know, those are just, you know, man-made mountains, you know? So just so you can feel that same type of feeling that you felt being in the cliffs of those rocks, right? You are the rough goat. You know, goats love climbing up those mountains, right? You know? So it says, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, la'ab, your mind, who shall bring me down to the ground? See, and you still ultimately have that mentality, right? Because now you're getting into the time of your technology. Though thou exalt thyself, right? Because no, the Lord said you have to let another exalt you, not you exalt yourself, but you exalt yourself, and then and then you exalt yourself with a bunch of lies and this and that, and then idiots but do believe you, as the eagle, right? And we know you've been having that, like I said, all the way back. Go back to them coins, whether if it was Hitler, right? Whether if it was Rome, right? America, all those Edomite, empires and places, all have the obsession with the eagle, right? Which showing who you are. It's a prideful, a dirty ass prideful bird, right? And that's you, right? He's a dirty ass prideful bird, right? Though thy nest is set amongst the stars, right? You have your space station, international space stations. Yeah, you got your technology that allows you to surveillance the stars, right? That's why you're surveillance, and you're afraid of this. This three-eye atlas or whatever they call it, right? This interstellar object that's coming, and you spotted a couple of other ones, so you're afraid, man. We're coming to the time where your time is more than near to your destruction, right? And it says, and also the stars is also the people, the Israelites, right? Because we're stars. Go back to the 2 dreams that Joseph had, and it was about the stars representing the tribes, the 12 tribes. So so you think because you got us in subjection, somehow you're this great person. You self exalt yourself, right? Thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh, right? And Yahweh is going to bring you down. Ain't got nothing to do with us. You don't got to be afraid of us. Be afraid of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And then if he gives us that spiritual power, well, there ain't nothing you can do about that. It's all but over with. Once we get that spiritual power, right? Yeah, so this is Job chapter 30, verse 3. For went a famine, right? Because that's ultimately what the whole world is about to go through, is a famine. And of course, we know the elite gonna have food, but the regular, average, everyday Edomite is gonna suffer. He's gonna suffer this famine, just like he suffered the famine that he did before being pushed into the Caucasus Mountains, right? Those that did get pushed into the Caucasus Mountains, but it was a fair share of you Edomites that did get pushed into the Caucasus Mountains, right? They were solitude, right? Which that's what's happening now, right? Everybody is distancing themselves especially from Amalek and the so-called, the American Edomite, right? Right? The small hat Edomite and the proud, arrogant American Edomite. They're distancing themselves. They're solitude away from you, right? At the end of the day, right? The rest of these days are going to be mad and shoot and eat her flesh with fire, which is meaning those ICBM missiles, man. You're going to be solitude, right? Nobody wants to trade with you. No one, everybody's distancing themselves, not using the U.S. dollar or anything like that, right? So it says fleeing into the wilderness, right? And that's the time that you were doing that back then, the wilderness being into the Caucasus Mountains at this time. In the former time, right? Desolated and waste, who cut up mellows by the bush and juniper roots for meat, Salakia. They were driven forth from among men, right? And that's what you're going to be also, once again, you're going to be driven forth from out of the world. You're going to be driven out of the world, right? To no longer exist this time, because there's no other place for you, right? You know, to be driven forth from among men, they cried after them as after a thief, to them that dwelleth in the cliffs of the valleys, right? In the caves of the earth and in the rocks. So that's you, man, all day. Yeah, because, you know, you're talking about you basically coming out of those caves, and which is the reason why I'm going into these cave verses, you know, just to show that, you know, you're showing who you are, right? You're showing your hand, and this is the first verse I thought of, but, you know, when you start speaking it, it's the first thing that I'm pretty sure most brothers, as soon as you start talking about that caves, right? Pretty much every brother thought of this verse right here. It says, Malachi chapter 1, verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, right? Because that's what you were in the Caucasus Mountains in the time of that famine, right? We were talking about that. Eating the mellows and the juniper root for meat, right? That was basically, you know, your potatoes and meat, so to speak, right? And but it was had enough nutrients to help you thrive, so you could come back out of the Caucasus Mountains, right? You were impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. See, so that way that you can return and deceive the world once again. Going back into what's Revelations 20, right? That you can rule this short space, a little space, right? And now you're at the time of your little space, you know, your short space. You rule your little short space, and now it's over. You know what I mean? But of course, you're gonna kick and cry like a little, you know, a toddler throwing a temper tantrum. You know, hey, but it is what it is, man. You know, right? So it says, return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakadash, of hosts, which mean armies, and everything pretty much the Lord can use against you. Any and everything, even yourself. I mean, how do you think people kill themselves? Is it because they said, I'm going to kill myself? Or did the Lord put a spirit, a wicked, evil spirit, and just constantly mauled his, you know, their thoughts, and their thoughts, and their thoughts, and their thoughts, until to where there was no, you mean, because think how the Lord hardened the Pharaoh's heart. He hardened it to the point of his own detriment. Same thing the Lord can do. Just like I say, remove himself from the equation, and pow, people commit, you know, the seaside, you know what I mean? You know? And then right? And yeah. So, but the Lord said, well, yeah, they shall build, right? Came out of Caucasus Mountain, you did. You went back, you took over, you know, Greece and Spain and Rome and you know, England and London and that and so forth and so forth. So basically, you're over the entire world this time. And you got technology. You're shooting into outer space, and you got space weapons and guns and a space force. And the Lord put you until you're so equipped that you're ready, that you think that you're ready to fight against the Father's Son, right? where your pride has deceived you, man. The haughtiness, your pride, your wantonness, you're completely undisciplined self think that you could come against the Most High. Hey, but hey, you know, they shall build, but I will throw down. And hey, we just read that the Lord said He was going to throw you down, right? So once again, the Lord said the exact same thing, right? In a different verse, but the exact same thing. So the Lord's not going to change it. And this is definitely a future prophecy, right? This hasn't happened, right? The very last throwdown, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, in which everybody's starting to see that with this G site, right? Over there in Gaza, Palestine, what they see what's going on, or where the world is calling a certain small hatter and saying that they're committing, war crimes, so to speak, allegedly, right? But people are starting to see that. And then here it is, America, Babylon the Great, has a DJ Trump, and he's not saying a thing. He's not saying a thing. All the nations of the world recognize that place as its own country, sovereign country. Then they have a right to have their own place on the planet. Which anybody who says that they're the people of God believes that everybody should have their place on the planet, right? And that proves, right, that the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian are the Israelites, because they believe that. Sometimes to their own detriment, because they will put you higher than they put themselves, just to say, hey, wait, but God loves, right? I mean, which is going to be a beautiful thing that the Lord puts in our inward parts, to think how His Son thinks, and then obey the laws according, right? How it's meant to be obeyed. And then the people who's meant to have their place in earth will have their place in earth, but we're not going to put them above us, right? We're not going to do that at all, right? And those that are meant to be put out of the world will be put out of the world, right? Obadiah 1:18, right? And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation, what? Forever, right? So it's never going to change. The Lord, if somehow by some miracle you did get it, the Lord is going to come and find some type of way to bring it down, no matter what. But this is the last hoorah for you, and that's what you're doing. You're crawling out your war cry, right? Speaking about you coming from the mountains. And also, what did you say? Something about the light, right? You came into the light, right? Yeah, so this is Luke chapter 16, verse 8. And the Lord commanded the unjust steward, right? So you're in your rulership. That's basically what a steward is. Steward is basically like the landlord. You're ruling the world. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. So you're being the unjust ruler of the world, right? Because he had done wisely for the children of this world, right, which are the Edomites, right, in their generation, wiser than the children of light, right? So that's your form of light, of knowing what's your plans, your the insider plans, right? Insider tradings and insider plans. These illuminary, luciferic, what they call signs and gestures, of the coming Novos Ordo Seclorum. Why, the regular, the children of light, they're just looking, because they're just showing the survival mode and will live for today and worry about, hey, they really, the most Jake are really on that, because that's what the Lord says, right? Well, the Lord says, there's enough evil for today. You don't really too much worry about tomorrow like that. You know what I mean? There's enough evil for today. And really, when it comes to Jake is always going through evil. So you got to worry about just making it. If I could just make it through today, you're not really worried about a whole lot of other things. But for you, that's why you would say you will return to build the desolate places, because you're thinking 200, 300, 400, 500, and you're making these plans. And this is why you're wiser. This is why you're wiser than the children of light, because you've been doing this. When you go back, it's probably hard to find this type of stuff. But when I first started studying about the charagma, right, the RFID micro C-hip, which is the mark of the beast, by the way, some of my studies, I've seen things as far as back as the 50s that you had already had it. So this has been in the making for quite some time, right? It's been in the making quite some time. Yeah, so this is Matthew chapter 6, verse 22. The light of the body is the eye. And if therefore thy eye be single, the whole body is full of light, which is ultimately dealing with the elect. The elect as a body, starting with Yahweh Shai. Your eye being singular, which is on this truth, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all other things shall be added unto you, right? Our eyes are single on this, right? As a body, right? As a collective, right? But you Edomites, as a collective, as a body, right? But if thy eye be evil, saying as a body, you Edomites are evil, right? As a whole, right? You may have a few so-called decent Edomites, or they'll say this or say that, but overall, you're all evil, right? You've seen atrocities and things been done to Jake, and you walk on by when things, because if it doesn't benefit you, why matter? Why should it bother you, right? So, but pretty much as a whole, you Edomites are evil, right? As a body. And if the eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness, right? And that's ultimately where you're at, man. You're the whole body, the whole house of Esau is full of darkness. And if therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? Right? So you're saying that you got this light, and you came out of the caves, and you came out of the darkness, and you came into light, and you have this light, and you're calling it this great light, when really you don't have a great light. You know what I mean? It just means if you think that's light, then your darkness is very dark. Like, you know what I mean? Right? Because you haven't done anything for humanity, right? You haven't did nothing for at all, right? All this technology, and no one's ever benefited. You make more weapons, you make more bioweapons, but who benefits off that, right? You make higher taxes, inflation, hyperinflation, but who benefits off that, right? Exactly, right? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and and that's that, right? Yeah. So this is Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, right? Your rulership, man. Ultimately, you're gonna be taken out of your rulership, man. You know, at the end of the day, right? Oh, Lucifer basically meaning light bearer. So that this is your light that you're talking about, right? The only thing you know how to do is, you know, rule with an iron fist to oppress, right? You know what I'm saying? Was it taxation with no representation? Something like that. Yeah, because you tax the people, but there's no one to truly represent the people to give them, you know, benefits. You know. You went to bat, especially DJ Trump. He went to bat for the rich. You're right. They're already filthy rich, and you say, "Oh no, they need a tax break." You know, they're creating the jobs. They're creating. You mean the jobs that you're taking away, that you're about to give it to AI? That they're not gonna have to pay. Yeah, you have to pay for the part to bring it there, but once you bring it there, it's gonna pay for itself. Right? Probably the first week, very first week or month or so of that joint, it's gonna pay for itself. Right? You know? So it says oh Lucifer, son of the morning, right? Basically, what happens when the sun comes out in the morning? Light, right? Right? You got your light. You're ruling. You got your rulership, right? But there's going to become darkness upon your light. The sun is going to lose its shine. Your light is going to be put out, right? And it says, how are thus cut down to the ground, right? Which did weaken the nations, right? You went around the world, you know, basically plundering, taking the nation's, you know, precious metals and oils and you know, they're basically the wealth of the land, right? You know? Yeah, so basically, yeah, this is Job chapter 21, verse 17. How oft is the candle of the wicked put out, right? See, your light's about to get put out, man. Indefinitely, right? By the Most High, Yahweh Basham Yahushai. How oft cometh their destruction, right? See, you're always going to meet you. He shall build again, but I will throw down, and he will build again, and then I will throw down. And see, this is going to be your final throw. You're never going to come back again, right? How oft cometh their destruction upon them? The power of the Most High Yahweh Basham Yahushai was that distributeth sorrows in his anger, right? Yeah, definitely. So, hey, the Most High is about to distribute his sorrows in his anger. So the Most High is definitely not pleased with you Edomites and what you have done against the sons of Israel, right? Of Yahweh, which wrestled with an angel and became Yasha'Allah, right? And ultimately the elect, right? Touch none of my anointed and do my prophets no harm. And you plan on doing harm to the prophets and putting your hands on the anointed. And so the Lord is going to bring sorrow in his anger, right? And basically you proved that you were the Edomites by speaking about your NWO agenda to come up against Jake, that you came out of the Caucasus Mountains, and that you think you're so bright and you have all this light and you're so smart and you're above all these things, and that basically you're God, right? You stole yourself above your measure, and you're about to be brought down. So call Haloyim, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To your sisters, your Achwathim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and the Bible ball, and Kwam Yasharallah.